Hello everyone, welcome to What If Quirkless Deku Got the Powers Asura's Wrath Part 1. Before we start, please go support BurningFingers for writing that awesome fanfic. He was only a little boy. Already crushed with lose, he is left to die by his hero and family at the age of 8. The young boy accepts death only to wake up above clouds where pillars go through them, and out of sight. Why had he not continued to fall? Because a certain white-haired man took pity on his young soul. Now he has returned ready to be a hero, take his vengeance, and deal with his new rocker girlfriend? Undeserving betrayal. We all know the story, told over and over again, of the beginning of poor Izuku. So let's get into the meat of it this time, and leave the boring details for when they are needed. Izuku Yagi had a really crappy life as of late. He had two siblings, Izumi Yagi and Jisei Yagi. Izumi was the same age as him, now only 8 years old, but Jisei was merely a 1-year-old infant. To those of you who know what Jisei means, shush. His parent never bothered with him, not since he had been deemed quirkless. Right now, he just wanted to go play with his younger brother. "Mom, Dad, me and Izumi are home," said Izuku. His sister was in lack of a better words an ass. She and her friends bullied poor Izuku relentlessly. He only had one true friend. He put his school supplies away and went upstairs to Jisei's room to check on the boy. He had done this since his parents brought the baby home, not that they noticed. They always saw Izumi and believed her to be their golden child. Ding dong, went their doorbell. That must be Kaken, thought Izuku. Sure enough, up came the Bakugo. He sat next to Izuku and fiddled his fingers playing with the infant. "How was today?" asked Bakugo, worried. They may be children, but these two lost their innocence long ago. They knew that what happens to Izuku was wrong. "Same as always, I'm used to it," replied Izuku. "You shouldn't have to be," came the blonde's reply. All of a sudden the room detonated, leaving the remains engulfed in flames. And here we find the two boys, hurt, frozen, and mortified. When they had come to, they were the only two in the room. The ceiling cracked, revealing the monstrous villain made for fire. Texas smash. All Might burst in and sent the villain flying with a right hook, holding Izumi with his left. He looked at the two boys, and did something that neither thought would ever happen. He grabbed Bakugo and left. Izuku couldn't move, his legs were toast, arms splintered, and the only moving body part he had was his head. Flabbergasted, the boy looked up in time to see a bright light, and then nothing. "Why, kid? Wake up, damn it!" Izuku opened his eyes to see himself hanging from a pillar above some clouds. There were other pillars too, each ascending or maybe descending into the clouds. He wondered how he was holding on, only to see he wasn't. A robotic-like man held on to him. Why you?" asked Izuku. "Asura, boy. Now tell me, how did you die?" replied the man. "Died?" asked the boy, now he remembered. "Yes, I should have caught you near the top, so not much time has passed. Answer quickly, boy." "A villain attacked. I died in a fire after being abandoned." "I see, what do you feel?" What does he feel? He hadn't even thought about it. He felt like he had been picked on all his life, like the people he cared about just got ripped away, like nothing has changed in the world. He felt angry. "Absolutely furious," replied the boy. "Good, now tell me your story," commanded Asura. And so the boy told his tale, and unturned Asura his. Slowly but surely Asura changed the boy's body as he spoke. Asura explained his powers a bit. "Your rage and the belief of other will power your mantra, Izuku." "What?" "Look at your body, boy." Izuku did as he was told, finding himself to look like a mix between himself and Asura. He had Asura's body with all his defining features. "Now climb, hero, and rise, show them your wrath." With that last bit of encouragement, Izuku climbed his way out of that limbo back into the living world. "Why do that, father?" asked a floating young girl next to Asura. "Because he reminded me of you, and a bit of myself. We are bound to see him again," replied Asura. Returned. Izuku awoke, in the charred remains of his house. His arms mimicking that of Asura, he dug himself out. He looked around, so much has changed. The street seems older, the house is not just charred but mostly gone. He was furious, but not stupid. He needed to go somewhere he could trust and help him. A few people came to mind, and they could all be found in one place. Izuku ran past the gates of UA, setting off alarms. Good, that should have teachers come out to him. And the very first one is one of the people at the top of his good list. Surrender yourself, villain! Spat Aizawa. Calm yourself, Aizawa. It's just me, said Izuku. Sorry, but I think I'd recognize snow-white hair and robot arms, replied the hero, although the face and hairstyle look similar. Even a quirkless can be a hero, stated Izuku. What? That's what you told me, once upon a time. Aizawa remembered a young Izuku asking him that question. Aizawa smiled at the boy back then to give him hope like his father had done so many times to so many others. That's why Jay looked familiar. Izuku? But you're dead. Kinda, I'd rather explain with both you and Nizu present. Hanging on to a bit of hope, the hero brought the young boy to Nizu. I heard Aizawa, Nizu said, pointing to the cameras. Now Izuku, tell us, how are you here? With that, Izuku told him of all he knew. About his death, being left behind on purpose, how he was treated, meeting Asura, getting these new powers which he still didn't know how to use, and climbing his way back to life. I see, started Nizu. Now would you please tell us, what now? I don't know, replied Izuku. I never had much, but now I don't have anything. That's not true, young man, started Nizu. You have dreams, said Aizawa. You have rage, stated President Mike, entering the room. You have allies, came another, Vlad King. You have new powers, came Power Loader. And you have used all, finished Midnight. So I ask you, Izuku, finishes Nizu, will you be a hero? Izuku could only look at them, and all the horrible things seemed so small. For once he had a group of people there for him. He smiled and gave a nod. Good, with my own recommendation you will attend UA. We will, Nizu began. Ding went Nizu's computer. Oich, look a email from the blonde bastard himself. Nizu, they still technically have Izuku in their custody, we need to get him free, said Midnight. I know, but this is the recommendation for his daughter and young Bakugo. I should just go ahead and decline this, stated Nizu. No, I believe we can use this, said Aizawa with a smirk. 2 weeks later. The Yagis and Bakugos entered Nizu's office about the recommendations. Hello there, I just called you all in to confirm a few things, said Nizu to the two families. Such as? Questioned Tashinori, All Might. You see the person next to me? This is someone whom of which deals with adoption and putting kids up for adoption. I would want to ask on behalf of myself and not the Hero Committee, if you would like to give up your late son Izuku. Yes, absolutely, shouted the Yagis. Are you bucking me right now? No hesitation, didn't even let me finish, thought Nizu as he sat dumbstruck. I see, well please sign here. Bakugos, I simply wanted to ask that you were a witness less and legal actions will be needed in the future. Please sign here. The two families signed their respective parts, with the Bakugos seeming very worried based on All Might's reaction to this. Thank you, now if I may ask, why was the answer so quick? Asked Nizu. He was quirkless and had no future at all, not even as a regular 9-to-5 job type person, answered Inko. I see, well that is all that was needed. You may leave, Nizu finished. The families left the room, Yagis then Bakugos. However, Katsuki helped me spell, I can't think of how to spell his name right, stayed behind. Is there a problem, Mr. Bakugo? You can't let us into UA. What? That day, the day Izuku died, I was there, said Bakugo turning to face the Chimera. Yes, All Might saved you and his sister, yes? Yeah, but he could have saved Izuku too. He knew he could. But he didn't. He left him there and told me to act like a good boy and keep my mouth shut. I know the committee will never let him face justice. But I didn't do anything, explained Bakugo. How can I let myself be a hero when I couldn't even be strong enough to offer anything for my best friend? Yelled the guilt-ridden boy. Meanwhile, the staff and Izuku sat and listened to the meeting. Pissed at what had been said, Izuku almost flew out in a violent rage. He stopped when he began to hear Bakugo. The group listened to the young boy, and when he had finished, Izuku had left the room. Back in the office. So you blame yourself? Asked Nizu. Of course I do. I didn't do anything, replied Bakugo. There was nothing you could have done, young Bakugo. I could have told someone, anyone. And who would have believed you? Bakugo remained silent. Then Nizu noticed Izuku behind the other boy, the staff following suit. If Izuku could hear you now, what would you say? Asked Nizu. I am sorry, the boy croaked out, on the verge of tears. Izuku placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. There is nothing to be sorry for, Kachan. Bakugo jumped away and turned to look. There he was. There was his best friend. Izuku? How? And so Bakugo was told the story that we now know, and all he did afterwards was give his friend a hug. Well, with that taken care of, I would like to hereby adopt Izuku, making him Izuku Nizu, Nizu said to the person next to him, as he signed some papers. Was the response of the group. What he needs to have some parental figure, since he's staying here and I've paid for his phone, clothes, and almost everything else out of my own pocket. I think I get the official name on the goddamn paper. Nizu finished his rant. None dared to disagree. A little bit happy, Izuku stared to hum a little tune. This did not go unnoticed. Find some music, my boy? Asked Nizu, eager to tease his new ward. He found more than that, said Midnight. Nizu's interest was piqued. He met some young lady and hit it off while trying to find some music to catch up on. He even got her number before he put ours in, Midnight said with a smirk. And he has been texting her about every hour since. How do you know that? Asked Izuku. Because you're texted with a smile on your face and we are the only other people you have on your phone. Izuku got red-faced. He looked at his new adopted father looking for help, only to be met with questioning eyes. Spill, the group commanded. Flash back to Izuku's second day in the world of the living. The staff took him to the mall as he had no belongings, specifically clothes. So he went wearing Aizawa's. He wanted to catch up on some music, so he entered a music shop to look around only to bump into a rocker girl. After introducing himself and apologizing, he learned her name was Jiro. Her quirk allowed her to use her earlobes as headphone jacks. They talked for a bit and really hit it off, and scheduled a meet-up in about a week. She gave him her number and told him to make sure to text her before he had to go. Back in the office, the staff just stared, some in awe. A few just shook their heads, and some were cackling like mad people. Bakugo, however, had only one thing to say. You seriously came back from the dead and got a girl's number in under a week? Love and rage. Do you really have to stay? Izuku asked. Unfortunately, after all, you're supposed to be dead, remember? And we need someone around in case something bad happens around you so we can bail you out, responded Aizawa. So how did you get stuck with this? Izuku asked, walking into the mall. The others were busy or couldn't be trusted to be discreet, the hero responded. Izuku nodded in confirmation and understanding. Aizawa split off to watch from a distance. Izuku was supposed to meet Jiro nearby according to her text. Hey there, Izuku, Jiro said as she snuck up on him. God, don't scare me like that, Jiro, you nearly gave me a heart attack. Don't be a baby, come and I know a good place to eat and chill, she said, leading them to a cafe-type place. The two took their seats and ordered some lunch before making some talk. Then when their food arrived, Jiro asked what she has been dying to know. So, I know your interests a bit, and you want to be a hero and you don't like your birth family. Congrats on the adoption, by the way, but I don't really know too much else about you personally, she stated. Well, I don't care too much to keep anything a secret, so well, for starters, my new adopted dad is Nizu, the principal for UA. Jiro chalked on her food. What? Yep, and OT gets better. Izuku proceeded to tell her about why he hated his birth family, and where he is right now. He was just about to talk on his death when… Crash! Empty lady's ass came crashing down from above, about to crush the cafe and a large section of the mall. Apparently she had been fighting a large villain, and he had knocked her over. Everyone would have been crushed if not for… "Arrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr casualties. Watch where you park your junk, fat ass! Screamed the rage-filled boy. Sorry everyone, and nice save kid, I'm sorry but I got to go, she said, dashing off to stop the villain. Izuku looked at Jiro, his metallic parts shining bright. He was proud of himself a bit till he heard. Of course, the only half-decent guy I found that I have a crush on is a robot. Jiro moot under her breath. Cyborg. Huh? I'm a cyborg, only a few mechanical parts due to my power. Oh, I see. Then realization that he heard her dawned. She then turned bright red. To be honest, I'm pretty sure I was crushing on you harder, said Izuku. The two stood in silence for a bit till the people there began to leave the destroyed cafe, and so the two walked out together. You know, I have a little bit more to tell if you want, said Izuku sheepishly. He felt as though he had somehow upset her. Please, she replied. Well, it's how I died. And so he recounted his tale we have learned thus far. He accidentally left out some names, however, only referring to their last name of Yagi. So you died, got a new power, and now live at UA? Skipping a few steps, but yeah. She just nodded at this. Well, I'm sorry, Izuku said. For what, Robo Boy? I don't know, you just seem upset. I get it if you HMF. Jiro shut the boy up with a kiss to his lips. Izuku just stood there shooketh. What, we admitted we liked each other, and you were being dumb. You didn't do anything, Izuku. Oh, okay, Jiro, does that mean we're dating? Yes, also call me Kyuka. Only you and my parents can call me that, okay? Yes, ma'am. Good. Unfortunately, I got to go. My mom and dad have been texting me since the villain attack and are making me come home. Take care and text me, Lovebot. I will wait. Did you just call me Lovebot? But she had already left. How the hell did she get me so smitten so fast? Love will do that to you. Jesus Hoboman, shrieked Izuku, as Aizawa appeared. Please don't tell my dad. No. Entrance of rage. Dad ad stup. Absolutely not. I can't believe Aizawa got your little date on video. This is amazing, and definitely going in a folder, said Nizu. Izuku merely put his head in his hands. I'm embarrassment. Of course Aizawa had a video, why wouldn't he? She plans to take the entrance exam, right? Asked Nizu. Yeah, wait, why? Asked Izuku, now panicked. Nizu gave the boy a very sinister smirk. Oh, no reason. He ha ha ha. Yup, not good. Well, no stopping it now. Izuku knew that it was true. Per Kyuka, hopefully it wasn't too bad. I should probably warn her, Izuku thought as he pulled out his phone. Hey, my dad has something planned for you during the entrance exam. He doesn't need to get me special treatment just because we're dating Robo-Arms. You're under the impression I mean good things. Oh shit. Yeah, huh? Good luck, Rockstar. Kyuka blushed at that. He never gave her a nickname before. Now she has to worry about the exam and whatever the hell Niza had planned for her. The poor girl felt like she was going to kill over right there. She looked at the metal can she had next to her. She had been puncturing it to practice, but what if it wasn't enough? The exam is tomorrow. She laid on her bed anxious. As she stared at her ceiling, thoughts of Izuku came to her head. That right, he believes in me. I won't let him down. She thought with determination she would make her Robo-Boy proud. Wait, my Robo-Boy, god damn it. Yep, she was now fully aware that she was totally in love. The next day, Kyuka walked up to the UA gates with the crowd, wondering if she'll see Izuku anywhere. Come on, where are you? Surely, yo, she cut her train of thought off as she tripped. Well, shit. Before she hit the ground, she was caught by a blonde-haired boy. Don't get distracted, long ears, said Bakugo. Sorry, just looking for a friend. You see a green-haired boy with robotic metal arms? He doesn't have to take the exam, but I was hoping to see him. Bakugo raised his eyebrows. An emo? Didn't know Izuku was into that type. What's wrong with emo? And you know Izuku? Yeah, you could say that. Come on, he said he'd be watching from the teacher's area. The two continued onward into the building to listen to the presentation given to all those attending the exam. He'll proceed to the seats of which they were given the test, however, when it doesn't like that to her, he skipped her, and then the same with Bakugo. After handing out all the tests, President Mike then went back to his desk and grabbed 2 other tests and handed them to the pair. Yua looked and saw that her name was on, and then instead of having an hour to do the test, she only had 30 minutes along with questions that had been changed from the standard test. On the side was a little note from Nisa saying, "Let's see how smart my son's girlfriend really is, Kyuka scrambled to get as many as she could and only get through February 3rd of the test. Then, because of Mike, came and collected the test. However, he managed to say, "Don't worry, if you got 5 of these right, you passed. He made this test just to screw with you a bit." Same with Bakugo, he said, just gesturing to the freaked out boy. Now for the physical portion, everyone made their way to the area after getting a number from President Mike telling them which city they would be in. Bakugo and Kyuka were put into different cities. President Mike then began to explain the exam and was explaining the robots before. "Excuse me, sir, the item 4th bottom you have not explained. This is highly inappropriate for such a prestigious school to not explain. We know who it is." "Will you blue-haired brat?" He was about to explain that before you interrupted him. The boy sat down as Mike continued. They thought he was doomed before Jei said, "Now, thanks to a special circumstance." He looked at Jiro. "There is a special 10-pointer that you may run into. This bot is super hard to pierce but has very destructible insides." Jiro gulped. It was made to fight against what she had been training for. "Now go to the gates." Jiro got herself ready. The gates began to open, so she sprinted through them, leaving all the others behind. "Hey, she's cheating," yelled one of the students. "There is no countdown in real life." "Go, go, go," yelled President Mike. Jiro crashed through bots the best she could. By her math, she had 40 points so far. She's doing fine until it appeared. The 10-pointer, the one made to fight against her. Meanwhile, in the observation room. "Seems Bakugo is doing well," said Nizu. Izuku was watching Kyuka, though she had just met the 10-pointer. "I can't believe you made another test and bot just for her and Kaken," he said, a bit miffed. Nizu smiled. "Just seeing who my son seems to like having around him. I've got to see what they are made of." Dad?" "Yes?" "There is a blonde guy crushed under some stuff near the 10-pointer. "Well, that's not good." Back with Jiro. Jiro saw the blonde idiot under the rubble. She used her jacks to send shockwaves to break the rocks to get him free. She woke him up and told him to get out of there. The blonde agreed and ran, saying, "Saved by a cutie, who could ask for more?" "I can hear the tick mark on Izuku's head," thought Jiro. There was indeed a tick mark on his head after hearing that. She turned her attention to the bot. Stabbing it isn't going to work, so what could she do in order to destroy it? Wait, its inside is fragile. She rushed the pot, jabbing her jacks in as far as she can. Then she sent shockwave after shockwave until it fell over. With smoke coming out of it, the bot turned off, beaten. She smiled, she had done it. With Nizu. Now for the big BOI. "Dad, what is with that smirk?" "Oh, just this," Nizu said as he pushed a button letting out the 0-pointer. "Nizu, that thing will crush them," said Aizawa. "It will be fine." The bot approached a section where a student was trapped and Jiro tried to help them escape. Nizu pushed the button to stop it. It kept going. Everyone turned to the chimera. He looked at them. "So slight problem." "With best girl, I mean Jiro." She looked up at the giant bot about to crush her, and this brown-haired girl. She couldn't die here, not yet. She watched as its foot descended upon her. Then she heard him. Rira! A shout of rage, and there he was, Izuku, holding the foot up and stopping it. He sent one punch to it, then another, over and over until it began to shine orange, and he sent one more to put the bot sky high before it exploded. He looked at the two girls. You okay? Jiro just smiled and shook her head. Yeah, thanks, she said as she approached him. She got right up next to him and gave a quick kiss. Think of this as a reward, she said. Contestants, please leave your assigned areas, came an announcement from the PA system. See you in a bit, Robo-Rage, she said as she left with the brown-haired girl. Hee hee, I got a reward, thought Izuku with a love-struck smile. Weirdly calm. The entrance exam was finished. Jiro decided that she would take a break before the exam's scores came in. Maybe she would hang out with Izuku. She got out her phone and texted the green-haired cyborg boy. Hey Greenie, I'm bored. Okay, not much I can do, replied the boy. Well, maybe. Kyuka sweetie, how did the exam go? Asked Mika Jiro as she barged in. Jiro quickly hid her phone from her mom. It went fine, I suppose. Kyuka dear, what are you hiding? Asked her mother, pointing to where she hid the phone. My secret boyfriend, replied Jiro, trying to throw her mother off with the truth. Your father won't be happy. Or not. Please don't tell Dad. Kyuka, I don't even want you dating. Well, I am, he's a great guy, she replies, blushing. We will see, replied her mother as she walked out. Well, she took that better than I thought. I wonder what Izuku is doing. Wahhhhyyy, complained Izuku. You missed multiple years of school, of course you need to catch up. Be happy the school system is letting me teach you, or you wouldn't be attending UA this year, replied Nizu. Yeah, came the boy's reply. Thanks for that, Dad. Nizu paused. He looked at the boy with a wide smile. Every other time he had called him Dad or something of the nature, he did so in some kind of mocking way. This had no such motivation. Finish your studies, then we will have katsudon for dinner. Nizu then walked out of the room. Overall pretty calm for now. Yue. Let me know if I spelt Ida or Kachan wrong. Today was the day. The day he'd see them again. Izuku wasn't excited to see them, but at least he had the teachers and Kyuka. Dad told him to keep his anger in check, and asked him to keep an eye on his two friends' anger as well, fearing that the group would lash out in anger and cause problems for themselves. In the same conversation, his dad had apologized that he could not remove them due to the hero commission. Of course, he gave his best friend and Kyuka the warning too. Hey, eyes about over here. Down the path he was watching was the reason he was waiting by the gate at all. Kyuka Jiro had finally arrived at UA. Come on, Greenie, we got to get to class. The two made their way to Class 1A, and due to them being a bit early, so that they had a little time to themselves, the classroom only held 3 other people at the time. Near the front sat a girl with a ponytail and a bang in front of her face. She looked quite formal and, to Kyuka's dismay, quite endowed. Another student that had blue hair and glasses. He too dressed formal. Izuku and Kyuka noticed that he was the annoying guy from the entrance exam. And he was currently yelling at another student whom was dressed a bit more loosely in their uniform. Izuku smiled and led his girlfriend over to the two. Hey, Kachan. This blonde boy is Kachan, thought Kyuka. Sup, Izuku. Help me deal with this four-eyed prick, replied Bakugo. Language and get your feet off your desk. It's disrespectful to UA, and I'm not Four Eyes, I'm Tenya Ida, said the boy Ida with hand chops. Listen, Ida, my dad and teachers don't really care about people putting their feet or even sitting on the desk, said Izuku. Your father? Yes, Nizu, you know, the guy whom runs this place. Ida paled and returned to his seat. Thanks, Izuku, and you must be Kyuka, said Bakugo. And you must be Kachan, replied the rocker. Bakugo, only Izuku calls me Kachan. Okay, then Bakugo it is. Everyone calls me Jiro, only Izuku can call me by my first name. Noted. The two nodded in agreement as Izuku just stood there with an adorable look on his face. 2 of his favorite people were getting along. The 2 in question sighed at his cuteness. Then came the rest of the class. You know them, so let's skip to the fun part, shall we? Aizawa stood up and waited for the class to quiet. 30 seconds. You need to work on. Wait a minute, where is Yagi? Suddenly a girl looking like Izuku walked in. I'm here, making a fabulous entrance. You're late. It's fine. Says who? Me and my father. Guess what? My class, I'm the teacher. I say it's not. Detention this afternoon. The trio smirked at this. And Aizawa was pretty pleased with himself too, to be honest. You can't. I can and I have, or would you like something worse? Sit down and be quiet. Izumi sat down next to Kyuka. She looks kinda like Izuku. Maybe I should ask him later, she thought. All right, started Aizawa. Get on your training clothes and meet me at Field Alpha. A student was about to raise her hand. If you're going to ask about orientation, I'd put your hand down. My class, my rules. And I will teach how I please. With that, everyone grabbed their suits and went to change. The boys' changing room is where we will be focusing our attention. As everyone was changing, everyone caught sight of Izuku. Some were horrified, some concerned, and Bakugo was nearly brought to tears. Izuku's torso was covered in scorch marks, and where there wasn't was metal. Yo, bro, what happened? Asked a redhead. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. Man, I hope Kyuka doesn't mind. Well, this is the result of a fire caused by a villain after I was left behind by my hero and father. And the metal is part of my power. Your quirk is that metal stuff? Not exactly, I'll explain later. Hey, it's cool, bro. Name's Izujirou. I probably spelt that wrong. Kirishima. Izuku Nizu. The two exchanged a manly handshake. Hey guys, look! Yelled the grapist or the midget student. The seniors left us a gift. There's a peephole. I can't. Why? Don't, said Izuku. I'm going to regardless of what you say. After Kyuka heard that and informed the girls, they all heard the loud bang on the other side as he listed of the girls and what he wanted to see. Kyuka smiled. Thanks, babe. No problem, baby. Welp, at least I know what happened, thought Aizawa. The students funneled out. Mineta limped but still made it out. Barely. Kyuka stood next to Izuku. Hey Izu, you know that girl that was late? Yeah, my sister. Kyuka's eyes darkened and sent a furious look toward the girl's way. So that's the hitch, came Kyuka's next thought. We will be doing an examination of you and your quirks. You will throw this ball with your quirk as far as you can, said Aizawa. We can use our quirks? This will be fun, cheered the pink girl. Izuku hung his head and sighed. Fun, well, how about whomever scores last in these tests gets expelled? Shouts and protests were started but silenced by Izuku saying, Life is unfair. No one knows that more than me. If you want fair, go die. Life's unfair. Death is the only fair part of your existence. Natural disasters are not fair, neither is the powers or life you're given. Get over it, that's the truth of this world. Well said. Now Bakugo, since you had the 2 score on the exam, you will go first, the recommendation students will go last. You know the drill, on to the juicy part. Izumi moved up to the circle and threw her ball using telekinesis to launch it. She tried to use one for all, but for some reason it wouldn't work still. Aizawa turned the counter around 1234 meters. Cheers and praise came to the young woman. Then the last one stepped up. Izuku walked into the circle and grabbed the ball. He let his rage build and build before it exploded. "Arrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr force. The ball went sailing and sailing. Aizawa turned the counter around, showing an error. These balls are biodegradable but nearly indestructible otherwise. This error means you threw it so hard you destroyed it. Well done, said their teacher, whom had not complimented anyone else. The class stood shocked at his power. Well, we are gonna do the usual fanfic way and skip the rest, and just give you the results. First Nizu. Second Yagi. Third Bakugo. Fourth Todoroki. Last place Hagakure. The invisible girl sobbed quietly. By the way, I lied. No one is getting expelled. The class let out a pained sigh. Is this what they would have to deal with all year? The class made their way to the homeroom and was instructed to introduce themselves as Aizawa took a nap. He did warn that he would be listening somewhat. The class began to introduce themselves. The usual with Mina, Shiro, Tokoimi, Momo yada yada. But then came Bakugo. Katsuki Bakugo, my quirk is explosion. It allows me to sweat nitroglycerin to create explosions. I used to be a hothead, but let's say something happened. Since then I tried to keep a level head, but my anger still gets the better of me from time to time. So don't piss me off extras. Ah, sweet cat. Started Izumi. Save it. I don't want anything you have to say, said Bakugo as he sat down. And it's Bakugo to you too. Izumi sat dumbstruck and angry. She got up with a smirk on her face. I'm Izumi Yagi. My father is All Might and my quirk is telekinesis. I'm going to be the next number one, and it goes without saying I'm pretty great at heroics and schoolwork. The class was in awe that her dad was All Might. Kyuka, however, connected some dots as she looked Ag Bakugo and Izuku's face for confirmation. She got it, All Might was who had abandoned her boyfriend. All of a sudden she felt a compulsive need to burn a few things in her room. Kyuka got up next. My name is Jiro. My quirk is Earphone Jack. I have an amazing boyfriend with a bit of a sad past, and I love most music, but I'm a rock girl. I'm told I'm a bit of a tomboy too. I should also point out. She stared right at Izumi. I don't quite like All Might. The class was quite shocked and confused. Who didn't like All Might? The girl Ajuri, call her Tsusu, raised her hand. Why? Everyone likes All Might. Well, Tsu, All Might has quite the record for property damage when he isn't paying attention, casualties, and he left. You know what that part isn't for me to tell. Let's just leave it at the fact because he left someone behind to burn. I almost never met them. That was when Kirishima connected the dots. He thought Izumi and Izubro looked similar. Heroes can't save everyone, you shouldn't hold it against him. Ida tried to counter. I know what she's talking about, said Aizawa. It was due to All Might's personal negative feelings toward the person that he intentionally left the young boy. The class was shocked to hear this. Why had they not heard this? Then they heard Aizawa's phone go off. He looked at it, and then a creepy smile appeared on his face. Izuku then got a notification on his as well. The Hero Commission wouldn't let their number one hero be seen in a bad light. That's why they hid his quirkless son's death, that he let happen be hidden. The class was too shocked to say anything, but Izumi was pissed. How dare you? On what proof do you have to say this? Izuku stood up. I am Izuku Nizu, formerly Yagi. And I am quirkless, but possess a power that can rival even All Might. My previous pathetic excuse of a father. Izuku looked right at Izumi. Hello again, sister. Big dinner, one for all solution. Izuku, I knew you looked familiar. What's with the white hair, Deku? And robot arms? Guess you had to cheat to mimic a fraction of Dad's power, huh, you pathetic brat? Came Izumi's immediate assault as she rose from her seat again. Is that how you greet your ex-brother? Taunted Izuku. Izumi was about to respond before Aizawa snapped at her. Yagi, I don't want to hear it. Izuku is now a valued member of this school and the son of its principal. And more importantly, my student. I will not tolerate disrespect to him in my class from you. Izumi sat down with visible rage. Before Izuku, Kyuka, or even Bakugo could say anything. I also got a burn from my father's actions and hate him. Everyone then stared at Todoroki. Just saying, I get it. Izuku got a slight chuckle out of that as tensions decreased. Well, maybe we can bond over that sometime, Todoroki. Izuku then sat back at his seat. Class continued as normal. Now let's see what happened at their homes. Dad, MOM, yelled Izumi. What is it, dear? Asked her mother. Dad needs to be here too, she replied. Tashinori entered the room. All right, what is it? Izumi sat down on their couch and looked at her parents. Izuku is alive. The parents being shocked was an understatement. But that's not, we have to go get him and bring him home, said Tashinori, whom I shall now be referring to as AM. He's apparently Nisa's son now, said Izumi. The thought of the adoption woman in the room came to their minds. Nisa had planned this. He's our son! Inko screamed. He made it clear he hates us today along with a few others too. But we have more important problem right now, explained Izumi. At that moment Inko had a phone call she answered. More important than your brother and our images? Asked AM. One for all won't work. At the Bakugos. What do you mean Izuku is alive? And you've known the entire time? Why didn't you tell us? Came Mrs. Bakugo's onslaught. Listen, I wasn't supposed to say anything as per Izuku and Nizu's request. I can now though, replied Katsuki. He has to come to dinner sometime, said his father. An wonderful, excellent, horrible idea came to the young Bakugo's mind. Mind if we had his dad and 3 others? At the Nizu's. I saw that little scuffle, said Nizu. I assumed you would, replied Izuku. Both took a sip of tea while sitting at their fireplace in their chairs. The phone rang unexpectedly. Nizu answered and listened. Very well, what time? I see. Yes, I can do that. Very well, see you soon. Nizu turned to Izuku. Get ready, the Bakugos invited us to dinner. I have a phone call to make, then we shall go. Izuku nodded and went to get ready. At the Jiro's. Kyuka had said nothing since she got back, but seemed pissed to her parents. So despite all the times I've read their names, I can't remember her dad's name. So he is just Mr. Jiro. Mr. Jiro thought something had happened but no idea what. Her mother thought it had to do with her new boyfriend, although it was not the way she was thinking. Suddenly the family matriarch got a phone call. She answered, Hello Jiro household. Oh hello Principal Nizu. The Nizus arrived at the Bakugo household to be greeted with open arms. Hello Mr. Nizu and... Mrs. Bakugo grabbed and spun Izuku around in a hug. Izuku, she put him down and promptly smacked him on the head. The hell have you been? Why didn't you tell us you were alive? Auntie, I had to keep quiet for a while. I'm here now, let's catch up, he replied. Hey now, let's wait for the other guests, me and your dad invited to talk, said young Bakugo. His mother looked at him with confusion. Sir. What? He asked. So I thought I knew who you meant, but it seemed I might have invited some other people. Shit. Came the thoughts of the 3 people who know whom they might have invited. That would be bad. Old hag, who did you invite? Young Bakugo asked, a bit panicked. Before she could answer, a knock came at the door. Young Bakugo answered it, ready to yell them. Only to see the Gyrus. So this is your boyfriend. Doesn't seem like much, said Mr. Jiro. The hell you say? I am bucking adorable, also I am not her boyfriend, you blind old man, he is. Young Bakugo pointed to an Izuku with a tick mark on his head right behind Bakugo. Kachan inside voice, and he didn't actually think you were her boyfriend, he was screwing with you. He knows I am now though, Izuku said with a wide creepy smile. Wait, Izuku, wait, I thought it would be fun to have everyone meet. I overreacted, I get that. Please wait, I don't want to fly, please not again. Young Bakugo said, panicked as he is behind Nizu. Izuku turned to see the absolute shocked face of Mr. Jiro, a somewhat ticked Mrs. Jiro, and a blushing Kyuka. Izuku and Mrs. Bakugo welcomed them in and closed the door. Everyone had just gotten into the living room when another knock was heard. Mr. Bakugo answered the door. Why, hello Yagis. The mood darkened by Nizu and the 3 teens. Damn it, you old hag. She looked at her son confused. Why do you think Izuku is Nizu's son now and had to be kept quiet? OOH. She understood now. This was not going to be a peaceful dinner, was it? A few minutes later the groups ate at the dinner with a huge dinner. Each family having brought additional food as not to be rude. Silence since the moment the Yagis entered. Mrs. Bakugo finally broke the ice. So I hear you and Ms. Jiro are dating Izuku, how'd that happen? She asked, hoping that was a safe question. We met at a music store. I was out shopping with Uncle Aizawa and Aunt Namuri when I wanted some music. He started and was about to ask his dad not to tell them he called them that to see he already sent the text on his phone with a smile. After that we texted and eventually went on a date where we almost got crushed by MT Lady. Izuku caught her and threw her at the villain, Jiro said with a laugh at the end. And due to us both having super hearing, I heard a little comment of her admitting she had a crush on me. After that we just kinda got together and been pretty happy with it, even if he can be a hothead sometimes. At least he's not Bakugo, she said, pointing at the youngest Bakugo, getting a laugh out of everything else. Yeah, me and Kyuka have been pretty happy together, said Izuku. The Jiro parents audibly tensed up. Excuse me, did you just call my daughter Kyuka? Only we can do that, said Mr. Jiro. Actually, I make him call me that. And made it clear him and you two are the only ones to call me that, Kyuka said. The Jiros looked a bit disheartened at that. What about these new powers? Asked AM. Izuku would have ignored him if not for the others also wanting to know. Well, after I died, I was saved from fully passing on by a man named Asura. We shared our stories and he changed my body to use his powers without me even noticing. Then kinda threw me and told me to climb back to life after telling me not to be controlled by rage. So if I'm to assume I have his powers with a similar body, I'm a cyborg demigod that gets more power the angrier I am and the more people believe in me. The people who hadn't heard this before were shocked, and the others recognized he left out some bits but decided not to press it. Dinner went on with the Yagis being kinda excluded besides the parent Bakugos since they have yet to be told what's happened. Izuku went to reach for a bowl of food and Izumi wanted to be petty so she grabbed it and put some on her plate before taking the spoon and putting it on her plate. She then locked the spoon and proceeded to place the rest on Izuku's plate with it while the Bakugos were oblivious, before Izuku could say anything. You going to eat, Izuku? It would be awfully rude to not eat it after you just got extra, she said, smirking. Izuku turned to the Bakugos with the mother looking at him. Izuku ate his food, then suddenly jumped out of his chair and passed out. Izumi fell face down in her food, also out cold. And just like that, Kyuka lost her cool. What the foo? Izuku looked into a black world with 7 mist people. Welcome, Izuku, we have chosen you to be the 10th. Your sister was deemed unworthy of this quirk. May you use it better than her. Wait, what? Was Izuku's reply. There is not time to explain, we are giving you this power as you are deemed worthy and we don't have many opportunities like this. We are a quirk made to fight all for one. Your sorry excuse for a father had it and passed it to your sister, now you have it. Now I'm sorry but bye for now, said one figure. And Izuku woke up with all but the Yagis around him. Izuku, are you okay? What happened? Asked Nizu. Izumi had sat up as well and notices something was wrong. Why can't I feel it? She said out loud. Izuku smirked and began to laugh. Izumi looked at him pissed. What's so funny, Deku? Izuku looked at her in the eyes and said, You are not worthy. She froze. AM took this time to ask, What does he mean? What can't you feel? Izuku decided to answer. She can't feel one for all, they chose me. The Yagis looked horrified, then they were pissed. What? What do you mean they chose you? Give it back to her now. Sorry, but they aren't gonna let me, Izuku said, his father eye twitches as the purposely incorrect grammar. Why? Why would you be worthy while I'm not? Screamed Izumi. Maybe it was the abuse, said Kyuka, getting in their face. Maybe it was you ripping away every bit of happiness he had, said Nizu with a malicious look as he advanced. Maybe, just maybe, it was leaving him to die on purpose, finished young Bakugo as helped Izuku up. The parent Bakugos looked shocked. Oh yeah, you haven't heard about that, have you? Izuku asked the Bakugos. Izuku told them the story thus far, leaving young Bakugo pissed, Nizu plotting, the Jiros saddened, Kyuka blushing, and the Bakugos silent. Mitz, started Inko. Get out, said the Bakugos. But Aunt Izumi began. Get out of our bucking house, yelled Mr. Bakugo, finally losing his temper. With that the Yagis left. The Bakugos asked everyone to stay and try to enjoy this dinner. They laughed, they played games, but no one would forget what just happened. And tomorrow will be a very interesting day. Raging combat training. Izuku and company were in class like normal when Aizawa had to announce their next class. Alright, and next we have combat training. With some people's least favorite person. He said the last part under his breath. Izuku knew who it was. Niza had told him he couldn't fire him as it would arouse too much heat on him and Yue. I am here, came AM's annoying voice as he entered. Entering the classroom like a normal person. Wow, it's all might, was one of the cheers that was heard. Although what they had learned the previous day still laid within some of their minds. Yo, Izujirou, you good? Asked Kirishima in a whisper. You look like you didn't sleep at all. I didn't, Izuku replied. Thanks to the quick transition of power, and not knowing what it was he exactly obtained, he decided to train a bit when he got home. And on the very first use of it, he blew his arm off. Literally. Luckily Mantra seems to be able to repair him as long as he has a good supply. And with most of Yue on his side, he has a decent amount. His dad helped him to figure out how to limit his power to a degree, so right now he's at 40% from what they could gather. He of course let Kyuka and Kachan know he didn't sleep, that his power lets him heal, the new quirk and his limit. He may have left out the blowing his arm off, which he almost let out when they asked how he knew he could heal, but they didn't need to know that. He hoped. I had a new development last night and had to train, was all he gave Kirishima. Everyone meet Mcda for combat training. But what is a hero without their costume? He yells as he presses a button and opens the walls to reveal their cases with their costumes in them. Get dressed and meet Mcda. The boys began to get dressed, but well, a little grapist just had to piss Izuku off even more today. I felt really bucking pervy writing this. Reading it is one thing but making it is another. Finding a hole in the wall, Mineta shouted to the boys. Look, the upperclassmen left us a gift. I can't wait to see Uraraka's thighs, Momo's huge curves, Mina's. Then suddenly Mineta was pushed. Intot he wall do hard that Kyuka's jack went into his eye and the wall had sustained serious damage. Kyuka chuckled a bit. Thanks, Izu baby. And no problem, Rockstar. Everyone left their respective changing rooms, their costumes. Same as Kennen. All except Izuku, who was last. Finally he came out. Minus the sword for now, maybe. Wow, cool Izujirou, commented Kirishima. Damn it, why does he have to be that hot in his hero costume too? Thought Kyuka. The class assemble in front of AM for their lesson. Good, most of you look like promising young heroes. Now the exercise we will be doing is heroes versus villains. The villain team will be in charge of hiding a fake bomb within this building. The hero team will come up with a strategy to either defeat all the villain and subduing them with the capture tape or simply touching the bomb. As for who you will be paired with, you will draw these balls from this box to see. Black means you are a villain, gold hero. Find the other person with your letter, and that's your teammate. Any questions? Yes, sir. Why are we drawing slots? Asked Lita. Because who you are paired up with in the field won't always be up to you. You gotta learn to adapt with your partner, replied Izuku. Good job, whoever said that. Yes, that is exactly the reason, replied AM. The class shifted around a bit at that blatant disrespect towards their classmate. AM got each of them to go up and pull out a ball. It did not escape a few students, and watching teachers' eyes, that he shifted the box for Izuku and mutation quirk people. Yep, made him full ass hold here. Now find your partner, shouted AM. Izuku looked to Kyuka to see her paired with Momo as a hero. Then to Katsuki and felt bad for him as he was paired with Izumi as a hero. Izuku was villain F. Due to the bias a few students saw, it was likely he had a mutation quirk classmate his teammate. Tokoyami approached a cyborg boy with the same letter and color ball. Hello Izuku, I'm Tokoyami. This is Dark Shadow, he said as he introduced his quirk. Hello Tokoyami, Dark Shadow, replied Izuku. AM announced the teams. You know the drill, same as canon for the most part for now. Except Izuku Nizu and Fumikage Tokoyami versus Izumi Yagi and Katsuki Bakugo. Izuku looked at his smirking hellspawn of a sister. Great. In the teacher lounge. So we recognize this is bullshit, right? Said Midnight. Niza had set up a video feed to watch the students in this exercise. It seems a few of the students see it as well, said Snipe. Sermentas was fuming at the current moment, and Aizawa was asleep. Mike was grading papers, really trying to ignore this so he doesn't get pissed. "Nizu's recording this, right?" asked Sermentas. Back on the field. The matches went on with the heroes usually winning, most being one-sided as well, with a few exceptions such as Mina and Shoji beating Mineta and Kaminari. Now was the final match between Izuku and Tokoyami versus Izumi and Bakugo. Izuku and Tokoyami were carrying the bomb to the back of the first floor when Tokoyami wanted to break the ice. "Does he think us blind?" Bird Boy asked. "He has never been that smart," replied Izuku. "I see, never thought that he would be so quirkist, I guess would be the word. He is the #1 hero." "He is an ass, my friend, you seem pretty chill though," Izuku pointed out. "Not the first or last time this has happened," Tokoyami responded. "I see, sorry to hear that," Izuku replied. "Don't worry about it, Izuku. Say, why do you want us to call you by your first name? Also, where are we hiding this thing?" the shadow user asked. "Well, my dad is the Nizu, so I just used my name. As for where we are hiding it," Izuku punched a giant hole in the floor and placed the bomb in it. "Now I'll put some rubble on it to hide it." He did so and moved away from it. "I'll stay here, you head up a few floors to throw them off." "Got it, boss," replied Dark Shadow. "Dark Shadow, sorry for him, Izuku, we will go now," said Tokoyami. "I mean, I don't mind being called boss," Izuku thought out loud. Tokoyami overheard. "Heroes may enter," AM announced. The hero team entered the building. Izumi decided to use her telekinesis to float her way to the roof and work her way down. Bakugo went in from the ground and worked his way up. Of course, he met Izuku on the ground floor. "Hey buddy, how are you?" Bakugo asked nervously. "It's fine, Kachan, I know you didn't want to team up with her," replied Izuku. He leaned into his mic and informed Tokoyami Izumi was on her way from the top. Good, so we gonna stand here all day or?" Bakugo asked, getting into his stance. Izuku smirked and dashed at the blonde. Bakugo dodged but was still injured a bit from the force scratching his face. He sent an explosion at Izuku and followed the boy to shrug it off and deck him in the schnoz. That punch sent Boom Boom Boy through a few walls. Izuku caught up to him and tried to deliver a powerful blow, but Bakugo sent a few explosions at him, sending him away. The teens traded blows and putting each other at a distance to recover for a good 5 minutes of their 15 to fight. Finally, Izuku threw Bakugo though a few pillars to make some distance. "No hard feelings, right, Kachan?" "Ugh," said a very hurt Pomeranian. "Yeah, sure, damn that hurt. Sorry, I'm a bit pissed right now." "Yeah, I can tell." "Alright then." Bakugo readied his gauntlet. "All or nothing then. If you were anyone else, I'd say this could kill you if you didn't dodge. But then again, you're you." "Heh, alright then, Kachan," Izuku said as his arms seemed to catch fire. The two fired their attacks, causing a massive explosion. When the dust cleared, Bakugo laid unconscious. Izuku used the capture tape and tied him up. His left arm was a bit busted from the attack, but he had to go help Tokoyami. So off he went. With our favorite best bird boy. Tokoyami was hiding in the shadows on the 5th floor. Since there was 7 floors, Yagi should be here soon. He could hear the fight downstairs raging on. Then he saw her, the daughter of the symbol of peace. He sent out Dark Shadow to try and do a quick capture by catching her off guard. However, the shockwaves from the battle downstairs shook and caused her to look around, seeing Dark Shadow. She boosted herself away and followed DS's trail to find Tokoyami, and launched rocks at him. Tokoyami dodged and clawed at her with Dark Shadow. She dodged and he used DS to get him behind her. DS slashed at her and caused her to jump away. Right into Tokoyami. "Got her now, Fumi!" yelled Dark Shadow. Tokoyami grabbed her and held her still while DS sent a flurry of attacks at her. DS delivered a few attacks at her before she blasted him away. She tried the same on Tokoyami, but he used his head. "I can't believe I'm about to do this," he thought. Then he pecked her in the neck. "OW, you mutated son of a hitch!" she screamed as he blew him away. Tokoyami tried to stand up, but Izumi grabbed him with her telekinesis and lifted him and Dark Shadow up. So you like grabbing people, huh? Well, how about this? She squeezed him with her telekinesis. Tokoyami resisted the urge to scream, until they heard a snap. Ah, the little birdie's bones are breaking. She squeezed hard. Tokoyami felt the blood from his insides in his throat but couldn't move to cough it up. He couldn't breathe, he felt many of his organs collapse. She was going to kill him. And he could see her smiling as she did it. The students in the spectator room tried to go help him. AM assured them it was fine. The teacher's lounge was in panic trying to go help. Let him go. Izuku sent a powerful right hook to Izumi's chest with one for all active. Izumi flew straight out of the building, landing on the street below, coughing up blood before passing out. A team of medical bot immediately came out and passed by Izumi and up to Tokoyami. What about Izumi? She needs treatment, shouted AM. Those bot were called for Tokoyami earlier, Yagi. Izumi will have to wait a bit. Entered Nizu. But nothing. We will be having words in my office later. Some of the teachers and staff want to have a few words with you as well. Students, go to your next class with Aizawa. Now, said Nizu with a dark tone. The students began to leave. As Izuku went to change, AM saw him and tried to grab him. Izuku, behind you, shouted Kyuka. Izuku turned to see AM try to grab him, only to have Kirishima step in between them. How dare you use that power against Izumi? Shouted the blonde dumbass. He was then dragged off by a familiar scarf. Thanks, Kiribro, said Izuku. Kirishima smiled. No problem, Izubro. They changed and went to class. Soon the Yagis will pay, mark their words. A date and a heart-to-heart. Classes had continued like normal, and before long everyone had gotten used to the classes and such. However, one thing that had yet to be worked out was Kyuka time. She felt like she needed more attention from Izuku and she was gonna get it. So after classes had ended, she caught her boyfriend before they left. Izuku, we are going on a date this Saturday, she said. Not that I'm complaining, but do I get a say in this? Asked the boy. Nope, she replied with a bit of sass as she walked. Now come walk me home, your girlfriend needs attention. Izuku went to walk her home, however some onlookers seemed to be curious about the boy, and some women more so. This ended up with Kyuka practically taped to the boy's arm. They got to her house and she opened the door. Mom, Dad, I'm home. No response was heard. Great, they're not here, come on. She dragged the boy inside. Kyuka, isn't this a bit much? What will they think if they just see me in here while they were gone? Asked the robo-boy. Honesty, I don't know or care, she responded. Their last fight still in her mind. A few days ago. Kyuka, we need to talk to you about your boyfriend. Started her mother. Kyuka thought that after the dinner at the Bakugos they would try and be a bit better about Izuku. We don't think you should continue seeing him, finished her mother. Or not. Excuse me? Asked an already somewhat pissed Kyuka. It's just that he has a lot of baggage, dear, her father tried to say. For crying out loud, he's not even fully human anymore. His biggest enemy is All Might, and if he drags you into this it would ruin your career and your life, shouted her mother with her eyes closed. Mika, her father tried to calm down her mother. That boy is nothing but bad news. It's bad enough you quit your music career, so at least don't ruin your hero one too. Her mother finished her rant. Her mother opened her eyes to see two things. One was her husband with a very anxious and somewhat disappointed look. Then she looked at her daughter. Kyuka had a stone-cold look on her face devoid of most emotion, but one thing gave her away. Kyuka was crying. They saw their daughter cry before, but that was always something that happened when she felt insecure. They never caused this before, at least not in recent memory. Jiro reached out to her daughter only for Kyuka to leave and go upstairs. She didn't slam the door, she didn't stomp. But Kyuka got her hearing from somewhere, and Mika heard her daughter sob. Her husband walked away to their room without a word. That had been a few days ago, and she had still not talked to her mother. But right now she had Izuku, and damn it, she was going to enjoy her time with him. He didn't need to know what her parents thought because right now she doesn't care what they think. Kyuka led Izuku to her room and dragged him onto her bed. She giggled a bit at her boyfriend's shyness, but right now she just wanted to be with him. There was one question she wanted to Ano though. Hey Izu, that stuff over the metal, is it skin? Oh, I think so. I mean the metal has something like nerves in it, and I can feel everything it touches. Why? Does it bruise? I don't know. Let's find out. With that, Kyuka bit his neck. Ow, Kyuka, what are you? He felt her start to kiss where she bit. He gets it now. After a bit, she moved back to admire her work. Oh, look, it does, she said with a smile. Metal kinda hurt at first, though. Now, why did you feel the need to do that, babe? Asked Izuku. To prove you're mine. Well then. Izuku moved on top of Kyuka. My turn. Izuku was on his way home after returning the favor she left, and then stayed with her a bit after. Something was bothering her, but he wasn't going to bring it up unless she wanted to talk about it. He entered his house and got a text from his dad. It read, good, you're home, please drop by the study. I looked into that Todorokis situation you were worried about. His dad found something good. It was in their third week that Izuku figured out the Todoroki household was not in the best condition. He asked his father if they could investigate it quietly in case he was wrong. He didn't want Todoroki to go through what he did. He entered the study to see his father a bit disheveled. Dad, you okay? Niza looked at him, then at the hickey on his neck. Son, have I been a good father since I took you in? Why, yeah, of course you have. Really? I mean, I know I'm not abusive or anything, but I'm just new to this parenting thing, and this business with the Todorokis has been a real eye-opener. Dad, you took me in. Got me away from my old family the best you could. Taught me, housed me, fed me, worked on my confidence and powers. And you are there for me. You're a great dad, don't doubt yourself on this. Aren't you supposed to be one of the smartest beings on the planet? Academically, yes. Emotionally, no. Sorry, Izuku, it's just I saw what is wrong with the Todoroki family, and let's just say young shots should thank you. I've been getting a case together merely 2 days after you asked me to investigate them. You spent 2 weeks building a case? There is a lot of evidence. And I may have gotten a bit distracted. Well, it's good that we might be able to help that family then. By the way, what were you distracted with? Well, I visited Mrs. Rei Todoroki in her mental hospital to get some facts. And I ended up seeing her from time to time. Oh, you visited her a few days. Dad? A day. What? I visited her a few times a day. I'ma go to my room. Okay, son. Oh, and please use protection with Ms. Kyuka. And I am gone. Let me know if your guys like this idea I had for Nizu. I even have a reason I can implement, just didn't know if you guys would dislike this idea. USJ Part 1. Class 1A was waiting for their teacher the next school day. Izumi sported a scowl as she glared at Izuku. She was obviously still mad at him for her defeat in battle practice. Not to mention that All Might had quite the earful from the entire facility after they witnessed what he failed to stop. Aizawa entered the classroom with his usual unamused look. Okay, class, tomorrow we will be leaving to go to the USJ for the day, and no, not Universal Studios of Japan, he said, shutting down a few of the students before they asked. Sir, then what is the USJ? Asked Uraraka. It stands for Unexpected Situation Joint. We will be using it for rescue training, responded Aizawa. After the announcement, classes went on as normal. All Might now had to have Aizawa with him when he was teaching, something neither were too happy with. But then came the end of the day. Hey Izuku? Started Kyuka. HM? What you need, Rockstar? Asked her cyborg boyfriend. Well, after the USJ, do you maybe want to drop by this weekend? Maybe Saturday for dinner? She asked sheepishly. Oh sure, your parents going out or something? He responded. Kyuka had told him about her parents' disapproval of them dating, so they decided to try and sneak around when they weren't around to keep their problems at bay. Actually, they will be there, she said, looking down. Then WHO. Are you sure? Asked Izuku. Last time didn't go so well from what he heard from his girlfriend. She nodded and grabbed his hand as they left. He walked her to her house and gave a quick kiss on the cheek. She went inside after bidding her personal cyborg goodbye for the day and went to the living room where her parents were watching TV. She went to make her way up the stairs but stopped at the first step. She took a deep breath, then poked her head into the living room. Izuku is going to be dropping by for dinner this Saturday for dinner to meet you both properly. Okay? Later. Then before her parents responded, she bolted upstairs. Hey Dad, Izuku yelled as he walked back into the school to his and his father's secret part they call a home. What is it, Izuku? Said his father, rounding the corner of the entrance. Well, I kinda agreed to have dinner with Kyuka this Saturday. With her parents, explained Izuku. Oh well, I didn't think you two would want to after what you told me about what Ms. Jiro told you about, replied the Chimera. She said she was sure about it, said the boy. Very well, now let's eat. You have quite the day tomorrow. And I will more than likely have paperwork once it's done, said his father. Oh, if only he knew. Well, maybe he does, he's needs probably not probably. The next day. All right, Hellions, get on the bus, our resident hobo teacher shouted to his class. Class 1A makes their way onto the bus. Kyuka obviously sat with Izuku with Bakugo and Ochako in front of them. Izuku was a bit worried about his girlfriend as she seemed irritated when Ochako was around. He shrugged it off, it was probably just his imagination. They talked for a bit before the ever-blunt Sue asked, Hey Izuku, your powers aren't a quirk, right? Does that mean things that work off regular quirks like Mr. Aizawa's quirk or anti-quirk cuffs don't work on you? Doesn't that make you kinda dangerous? The boy thought for a moment, then replied with, I guess they wouldn't for the most part then, and I guess I could be dangerous if I went out of control. But after that incident when we were training, I probably won't go out of control. If I did so easily, then Izumi would be a bucking donut right now. Props to who said this on that chapter, 'twas a good funny. The group arrived at the USJ and was met by the Pro Hero 13. The class looked on as Ochako started to fangirl. That was until Kirishima mentioned their guests. Oh cool, they even have fake villains! USJ Part Dose 2. Welp, that's about right. My IRL catchphrase, said Izuku. Those aren't fake villains, everyone get back 13, keep an eye on the kids, shouted Aizawa as he jumped into the fray. Well, let's go extras, shouted Bakugo. No, Aizawa's combat style might be compromised if we were to join. Also, he and my dad would absolutely hate the paperwork, Izuku said to stop the blonde. The class then tried to open the doors. It's locked, exclaimed Kaminari. I got this, Jiro said as she rammed her jacks into the door. Then after a second they were blasted off from the point her jacks hit. That's my rock star, Izuku cheered, making Kyuka blush. Ida, move ahead to get help, you're the fastest, commanded Izuku. Ida nodded and sprinted off. The class was about to follow before black mist blocked their way. Apologies, but I can't let you all go that easily, said the mist man whom walked through the mist behind them. He raised his hand and black mist began to cover the students. Like hell, yelled Izumi, as she dashed at him and sending a punch. Only to go through and became the first to disappear. Well shit, he's got to have a physical body under the mist, Izuku commented as more classmates disappeared. His collar, the metal there has to be attached to something physical, he shouted to those left. He dashed at the mist man only to throw a punch hard enough to dent the metal onto the man's neck, incapacitating him. Haha, I got him, how do you guys? Izuku looked around to see he's the only one left. Well shit. With Kyuka. Kyuka fell onto the mountain zone with the perverted Pikachu ripoff and Tokoemi. As the three got up they saw villains surround them. A rumble shook and the entire mountain group looked to see a glacier in the shipwreck zone. Welp, at least Todoroki is kicking ass, Kaminari said. Heads up people, we got our own problems, said Kyuka as the villains rushed them. Embrace the darkness, yelled Tokoemi as he sent out Dark Shadow. You heard the man, give me a hug, yelled the quirk as it dashed at the villains. Kaminari sent out shocks to defeat the villains till he went into way mode, and then Kyuka had to bring him to cover while using what little fighting experience she had mixed with her jacks to fight off the villains. The fight only lasted a few minutes before they had defeated the group of villains. "Not that tough, huh?" said Kyuka as she berated the villains. The group moved towards the exit until they heard a battle. They looked to see Aizawa, who had been kicking ass, start to be beaten by some large monster. Re-ra-ha-ha. And there's her dumb ass. Izuku rushed at Aizawa's attacker. As he ran, he saw the rest of the students finish their own fights. The cyborg boy rushed at the creature, hitting it square across the jaw. It sent the creature back a few paces, but nowhere near as much as he expected to. "Ha ha ha, good luck, boy. This thing has the ability to absorb shock waves paired with super strength and regeneration. It has the power to kill All Might," said the blue-haired man in a trench coat behind the beast. "Hey, if you just went after All Might, then I might have let you. But you went after my class, my friends, my teachers, my uncle," stated Izuku, each word getting even more angry. "And even my girlfriend, so now it's time to pay," he screamed before dashing at the Nomu, delivering a massive blow to its stomach. The boy kept hitting it over and over, pushing it back. It looked like he was winning until... crack. Aizawa was dumbfounded by the force, Kyuka near buckled from the sound, and Izuku went flying from a punch thrown from the monster. Kyuka and her group met with Bakugos from the fire rescue area at the field with Aizawa. They saw Izuku now taking a beating from the creature. Bakugo rushed it, firing off an explosion to get it to let go of his friend. Kyuka dragged off the cyborg before going to help. It didn't take long for the monster to deal with the blonde, sending into a nearby rock formation. Best Girl sent her jacks at the beast, piercing its skin and wrapping around its throat in an attempt to choke it out. It only resulted in being used to pull her in close, however. Izuku watched. He laid on the ground and watched as the beast beat his family into the dirt and rocks. Why? Why was he so weak? Why couldn't he protect them? Why? 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 Then he felt it. Something snapped. "Arararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararararar antagonist rushed the beast. His first fist hitting its stomach, making it release Kyuka. The second fist connected with its face, allowing her Jax to retreat. The beast sent its own arms down to crush the boy, only to be caught by Izuku. "Izuku needs a four-armed Asura form," shouted the now four-armed boy. Izuku threw the monster back toward the lead villains. The monster landed in front of them, and then the man yelled, "Get up, Nomu, break that brat, he can't possibly be stronger than All Might, I'd rather not use the other plan." The beast, now known as a Nomu, rushed the boy in compliance. Izuku responded, "I'm kind." The two clashed, shaking the facility. In this battle, one shall stand, one shall fall. Optimus Prime. USJ Part 3 Final. All rights belong to their respective owners for BNH, and the songs sang/written in this. Have fun, meme people. Izuku fought for a bit against the monster now known as a Nomu. He felt like something was missing though. Both in his power, like it wasn't complete, and in the fight itself, like it was too quiet. That's what he's forgetting. "What was that song that Kyuka made me listen to again?" thought the boy. "Oh yeah?" he said out loud as he remembered. With one of his extra arms he got out his phone, fighting off the Nomu with the other three. He found the song he was looking for, at least a remixed version, and pushed play. He returned his phone to his pocket, and sent a quick and powerful punch to the Nomu, knocking it back. Standing here, I realize. The Nomu rose back up to continue the battle, sending a punch at Izuku's head. "You are just like me. Trying to make history." Izuku blocks and counters it, slamming two of his fists into the Nomu's stomach. It was odd how similar he and his opponent were. Both overpowering monsters with a goal to beat All Might. But who's to judge the right from wrong when our guard is down? I think we'll both agree. But Izuku knew that just killing him was wrong, or at least the wrong reasons. Izuku wanted to beat him, but by proving he was a better hero. That violence breeds violence. But in the end it has to be this way. Izuku slammed the Nomu's chest with a barrage of attacks, each one leaving an indentation on the monster's body. "I've carved my own path. You followed your wrath. But maybe we're both the same. How close was he to being on the same path? Is that what Azure's warning was meant to prevent? Not anymore, this was his path, the path that he made. Yet him and the Nomu were still at least a little similar, if not nearly the same. The world has turned. And so many have burned. But nobody is to blame. So many lives had been ruined in this world. He had been burned himself. Izuku delivered an two-armed uppercut to the creature. The Nomu was lifted off the ground. Izuku jumped after it with two beams of light sprouting from his back. Yet staring across this barren wasted land. Now he had Kyuka, his dad Aizawa, and so many others. Izuku used his forearms to deliver a massive combo to the monster. I feel new life will be born. This is it, where he truly shows that this is who he is. This is his new life. He is Izuku Niza, he is. Beneath the blood-stained sand. Asura, the six-armed Vajra full form. Beneath the blood-stained sand. Izuku delivered a mighty six-armed slam back to the Nomu, sending it back to the ground. Izuku punched toward the sky and used the pressure to reach the ground first. And with the last beats of the song's drums delivered the final blows to the Nomu, before sending all six arms out at once, pushing the Nomu into the stratosphere. And no, you weren't supposed to beat that thing, much less have mantra, said the blue-haired leader, whom seemed to have the same metal on his legs that Izuku seemed to be made of. Master Tamura, we must leave. Reinforcements will arrive soon. Without the Nomu it is best we retreat, said the mist man, appearing next to the villain known as Tamura. Fine, get us out of here, Kurojiri, commands Tamura. Not on my watch, yells Izuku as he dashed at the two, only for him to feel a kick to the chest. Izuku went flying back, too tired to recover for now. He wasn't used to this kind of power yet, it was kinda draining. The boy looked up to see Tamura with his foot pointed out. He never even saw the kick. Till next time, hero. And with that the two men disappeared. Just then the blonde dumbass himself burst through the entrance and into the room. Where are the villains? Shouted All Might. You're too late. What villains that aren't knocked out, or in some cases dead, already escaped, said Izuku. So, not only did you fight without a license, you also let the villain escape? Shouted AM. They were in danger, came the hoarse voice of Aizawa on the ground. Of course they had permission. And they brought an army and bioweapon made just to kill you, you big blonde walking corpse. The rest of the heroes caught up and entered the room. The last thing Izuku heard was his dad calling out to him before the world went black. Kyuka or Recovery Girl was gonna kill him. Subsiding rage. Well, Izuku was wrong. It wasn't Kyuka or Chio that was gonna kill him. It was his own father whom was crushing his windpipe with a hug. Izuku had woken up in the nurse's office to find Kyuka cursing at her phone, Chio checking some machine, Aizawa in a bed next to him, Ms. Joke at his side, and his father in a chair next to him. He tried to move his arms, which of course alerted everyone he was awake. Izuku. Problem child. You hellion. Son, came the shouts of the surrounding people. Hi, came the boy's short response as he laid back down. What happened to everyone else? Minor injuries, just some scrapes and bruises, replied Nizu, now in a previously mentioned bear hug on Izuku's neck. Dad, air? Please, said Izuku. Nizu released his son. Right, sorry. Ahem, well, I'm glad you're okay, son. As much as I would love to stay, Nizu looked down ashamed. You got a whole school that was just attacked to look after, it's fine, Dad, Izuku said to finish his father's statement. Such a great son, thank you for understanding. How about Katsudan for dinner tonight? Maybe invite Katsuki and Kyuka too? Nizu said to the boy. That sounds great, Dad, now go, I'm sure that people are dying to hear from you, replied Izuku. Nizu nodded and left the room, giving a look to the others to watch his boy. Izuku looked at Kyuka with a puzzled look. What about you? Aren't your parents worried? Well, started the punk girl. Where is my daughter? Came a scream from down the hall. Not 10 seconds later the gyrus busted through the door. Kyuka, thank God you're all right. said her parents as they embraced her into a hug. I'm fine, Mom, Dad. Izuku and Mr. Aizawa fought the main guys and either beat them or ran them off, said Kyuka. Don't you mean All Might and Mr. Aizawa? Asked her father. Not like the boy did anything, muttered Mika. Excuse me? Kyuka questioned rather violently. Kyuka, you must have thought All Might was Izuku. All Might said he fought the villains with Aizawa while the students fought their best. He did kinda mention some like Izuku hid Eight-ing in fear, Todorokis said. Kyuka was now violently pissed. She was about to start screaming before. Excuse me. All Might wasn't there, said Aizawa. Huh? Both parents turned to question. Izuku fought their superweapon as they called it, and fought the villains with me and his classmates. No one was hiding. Hell, Izuku is only here now because he stopped the others from getting so hurt. I've seen the reports, all the students and staff saw it with camera footage. This is the first I'm hearing of All Might fighting there at all, explained their now probably favorite teacher. The Jiros were dumbfounded. The symbol of peace lied? But why? Kyuka, maybe you should go home, you'll see me again later. After all, Dad invited you for dinner, Izuku said with a smile. Like hell you will, we aren't letting her come back to this school, much less with you, shouted Mika. What? Shouted Kyuka. Huh? Came from the three staff members. Izuku looked nearly catatonic. Bit most shocking of all. We are? Came from Kyotoku. Of course we are, shouted the matriarch Jiro. The room was silent. The attention then fell on Kyuka. They saw something that not many had seen, but had been happening more and more as of late. Kyuka was crying. And what if I say no? Asked the patriarch. Huh? Was both female Jiro's reaction. You are not the only one to make decisions in our daughter's life, Mika. She is my daughter and her own person, Kyotoka said. She is my daughter, she should do what's best for her, Mika shouted. And who are you to decide that? You think you know so much better. Wake up, Mika, I am not going to ruin all the good things she's accomplished just so you can feel justified, Kyuka's father argued. He turned to Kyuka. Kyuka, you said the Nizas invited you to dinner? Stay with them today and I'll call you tomorrow. He looked at Izuku and bowed. I'm sorry to force her onto your family for the night. It's fine, sir. I'm sure my father won't mind, responded Izuku. Kyotoka grabbed Mika by the arm and dragged her out of the nurse's office. Izuku comforted Kyuka, and Aizawa got on the phone with Niza to inform him of the current situations with the Jiros and All Might. The Bakugos visited soon afterward, leaving Katsuki behind for dinner, feeling good their son was safe with Izuku and his father. From then on they just did their best to enjoy their time to have fun. They went to dinner at the Niza household, played games, laughed, and finally slept. And despite everything they were thankful. Niza had a family. They were strong and safe. Is this what Humas felt like all the time? Perhaps maybe emotions weren't so bad after all. Katsuki had his friend back, he was in his dream school, and Izuku was living a happier life. All things considered, he was feeling pretty good. Kyuka was conflicted currently. Her parents were fighting and not really approving of her decisions, at least her mother wasn't. But her dad stood up for her against her mother, a first time for that happening. She was in the best hero school, she had survived a villain attack, and had a great boyfriend. Honestly, she kinda felt a little bad about how happy she was right now. And Izuku? He was feeling pretty good himself. Had a hot and loving girlfriend, his best friend, a new dad and a new mom soon. If the jokes about Todoroki's mom were the slightest bit true, he was in the hero school of his dreams, and had proven he could fight real villains and save people. Sure, his old family is causing problems, but nothing is perfect. But this was pretty close. Next time, a new saga begins. Soon after the attack at USJ, UA is forced to hold their sports festival after receiving public reports of the USJ. Japan is losing hope in All Might. Izumi Yagi declares war on her brother, followed by the many others siding with her. A new fury burns within not just Izuku, find out in the next epic saga. UA Sports Festival. Battle registration 0982. Ready? Set? Fight? See you on the battlefield. A parental dinner. Saturday rolled around for Izuku and Kyuka pretty quick, although not as quick as if someone had left them alone more often. Katsuki and Nisa made sure to check on them constantly through the rest of the week to make sure they were behaving. Right now Kyuka was approaching Izuku's room to see if he was ready. And of course he's not. "Izuku, come on, get ready," shouted the purplet. "Ready? For what?" asked her now confused boyfriend. "I told you we'd be having dinner at my house, didn't I? Come on, Robo Bean," she said as she pulled out clothes for him. "I just thought that after everything that it'd be cancelled is all," replied Izuku. "Well, it's not. I already made sure to tell them we'd be by at 6. His girlfriend responded. "And after tonight, I'm going to go back to what I did on a regular basis. No more training excessively, no more acting all sweet and kind every single second, and finally going to some concerts. I've gotten pretty sick of crying over the past few weeks." She turned and pushed the clothes into his chest. "Got it? Or are we gonna have a talk about this, Izuku?" she said with a sickening sweet smile. Izuku nodded his head religiously. The tone of voice and scary smile made him gulp as she talked. She turned to walk out the door. "Good boy, now it's 5 currently, so we have an hour to get there, and I already told your dad." She turned to look at him in his doorway. "Come on, chop chop." Izuku has never been so fast to make himself look presentable. The pair arrived at the Jiro household nearly 10 minutes before 6. Kyuka knocked on the door as she let herself and her boyfriend in. "Mom, Dad, we're here," she shouted. Her father walked in with a plain blazer and some regular pants. "Hi baby, you two been okay? I'm glad you're here." "Yes, Dad, we have been fine. How's been things here?" asked the shortest of the Jiros. "Strained to say the least," replied the patriarch. Well, come on, dinner is already cooked." The group joined the matriarchal Jiro at the table. On the table was udon, katsudon, fruit, and few other foods. "We decided to fix you two's favorites tonight. Hope you enjoy," said Kyotoku. "Thank you very much, sir," responded Izuku, trying to be respectful. Mika Jiro remained silent. She merely watched. Meanwhile Kyuka smiled. At least her dad seemed to be coming around. They had a pretty civil dinner, all things considered. Kyotoku shared some embarrassing stories, Izuku talked about some of the shenanigans at UA, and Kyuka about her favorite bands. When dinner was done, Mika got up to wash the dishes. Izuku was about to follow to help, but Kyuka grabbed his shoulder and put him back in his chair before following her mother. "This going to be okay?" asked the boy. "Probably not," said Kyotoku as he took a sip from his drink. The two sighed and Kyotoku listened to Izuku and what had happened to him. Izuku learned of Kyotoku's past of rebellion and how he came to be a musician. Then they heard it. The shouting. "Why do you insist on being with the thing?" "Well, there's mine," said Kyotoku. "Why do you insist on being such a hitch to him?" "And there's mine. Should we intervene in this?" "Be my guest, I'ma sit my happy ass right here, thank you very much. I like my ears just how they are." "Fair point." It wasn't long before Kyuka came back huffing and puffing. She grabbed her boyfriend and matched through the door, dragging him along the way. "Bye, Mr. Jiro, have a good night," Izuku said, waving. "You too, kid, take care of her and yourself." Kyuka slammed the door on the way out. Kyotoku went to wrangle his wife. Yay, fun family night. Ideology of catharsism. The Class 1A group sat in their classroom, curious on whom would teach the class with Mr. Aizawa out of commission for the time being. Izuku, Kyuka, Bakugo, Izumi, and him had been MIA since the USJ. In the midst of their chatter, the door slid open to see the resting hitch face of Kyuka, and her obedient puppy of a boyfriend. A snickering Bakugo followed behind, with a bandaged Aizawa stifling a laugh but with a huge grin. Tokoyami looked at his green-haired dyed friend. "What did you do?" "I didn't do anything," defended the boy. "Some girls were hitting on him, and he was being oblivious to it, and so Jiro decided to make it obvious who he belonged to. Bakugo chimed in with a laugh. Me and Aizawa got to bear witness to the most flustered we've seen Izuku. Kachan, whined Izuku. Just wait until your father sees the video, said Aizawa. Eh? Jiro turned her head up. I'm not apologizing. Jiro then tilted Izuku's head to the side to show off a bright bite mark so deep it dented the metal on his neck. How did you even? Asked Mina, pointing to the bite. She bites hard, Izuku said in dismay. That's right, and you better remember it, his punk girl said. Alright, enough teasing each other. Where is Yagi? We have an important announcement she needs to be here for. On cue once again, Izumi and All Might walk through the doors of the classroom. Oh, All Might, to whatever do we owe the pleasure since you are currently on probation? Asked Aizawa. Probation, what for? Asked Ida. For lying to the public of the USJ incident. Your parents were informed of the events after his announcement, and he was put on probation due to the backlash from both the media and parents, explained their teacher. But wasn't it All Might that saved us in the USJ? Asked Uraraka. Nope, that was Izuku, although since he got so big you probably thought he was All Might, said Kyuka. Whoa, really Izubro, that's so manly, said his red-haired friend. She's lying, no way this thing was useful at all, said Izumi. Actually, Yagi, the cameras and eyewitness testaments from both sides confirmed Izuku was the one to save us, with permission from 2 different teachers, said Aizawa. Now why are you here, All Might? Just checking on my students, Eraserhead, replied the blonde bastard as he walked around the classroom. Leave All Might now. Fine, be good daughter, one of my children have to be. All Might huffed as he left. Izuku didn't even react. Why should he? He doesn't care what that Homelander wannabe thought of him. Izumi took her seat and Aizawa started his announcement. All right, class, despite Nisa's request, the commission has demanded the UA Sports Festival to take place. This is your chance to be scouted by heroes all across Japan. Those whom are not scouted will stay here and be taught by me. So you better get scouted so I can have some peace and quiet, announced Aizawa. Murmurs went around the room. But some of our crew had vengeance on their mind. The day went on as normal, with teachers reminding them that they get the last 3 days of the school week off to train. Izuku had decided not to put all his attention on revenge, however. I'm gonna put that hitch in her place, announced Kyuka to their group, causing many of their group to sputter at her. Kyuka, you don't have to do that, said Izuku. Shush, I have already decided on it. She hurt you, she bullies you, and I am not having it. I'll make sure she can't sleep at night without seeing my face and wetting the bed, the punk said sinisterly. The 4 boys Izuku, Bakugo, Tokoemi, and Kirishima along with Minaku and Itsu knew not to argue with this kind of threat. The sports festival was shaping up to be one hell of an event. Off in another city, the truth about the USJ and All Might's false claims were being aired on Astora's TV. So Eve, the great All Might, said a man as he licked his blade, is nothing more than a fake. Racing fury. The entirety of Class 1A sat in the waiting room, each getting ready in their own way for the sports festival. Midoriya, I have a question, Todorokis said as he came up to our cyborg being. Did you and your father have a hand in what has been happening with my family? The young half and half user asked. Perhaps did your mother have a talk about your powers with you? Izuku asked back. Indeed, said the half and half boy. A week ago, Rei Todoroki had been moved out of the mental hospital and into her own place with divorce papers sent to her husband, Enji. It was later she sat her kids down to talk with them. When she has sat Shoto down, she had immediately asked why he wasn't using his full power. Shoto, having a great hate for his father, didn't deter his mother from telling him that it was his own power, and he should be proud of it and use it to his fullest to become the best he could be. It had been a lot for the youngest Todoroki to hear and digest. I'm glad. Sorry for butting in, but seeing your situation was a bit personal for me. So me and my father decided to do what we could to help, Izuku explained. Todoroki nodded his head and bowed. No, thank you for what you've done. But that being said, he raised his head. Don't expect me to take it easy on you, I plan to win. I wouldn't dream of it, replied Izuku. Like you're winning, I am going to be the winner here, you damn nerds, came Bakugo's shout from outside the room. Izuku and Shoto just sighed and walked out to the field. Here they are, folks, this year's contestants for the UA Sports Festival, announced Midnight. Now introducing our student representative, Katsuki Bakugo. With that, Bakugo walked onto the stage, leaned into the mic, and said, I plan to win. Boos radiated the stadium. But he continued, however, I'm not the only one, and I'd be damn childish of me to say I'm the only capable one to do so. Everyone give it your all and go beyond, plus ULLTRAA, Bakugo shouted to the crowd. The once booing spectators now cheered for the young boy's speech. Y'all really thought I would just do the I'm going to win thing, didn't you? What an exciting speech, Mr. Bakugo. Now if all the contestants would kindly approach the gates at the end of the stadium for our first event, shouted Midnight. The classes of Heroes, Support, and General Studies made their way to the gate. Izuku gave Kyuko a smile and a nod as they got ready. Our first event for this spectacular sports festival is a simple race across a UA-made obstacle course. President Mike started shouting. Get ready, set, go. With that, the doors opened. Todoroki immediately froze the area to stop as many people as possible. Kyuk jumped above it and landed right on Izuku as it took off in breakneck speeds. Bakugo and Todoroki following close behind them. Well, looky what we got here, folks. It seems that young Nizu and young Jiro have teamed up. What else could we expect from our resident power couple? President Mike shouted out. Uncle Mike, why on national television? Shouted Izuku. Whoops, sorry little listener, Mike said. Idiots, all round me, commented Aizawa beside him in the commentary box. Back on the field, Bakugo was gaining on the couple. I don't care if these two are working together, I'll still. He was cut off with a jack to his forehead. Kyuka pumped out some vibrations from the end of her jack into his head, giving him one hell of a headache. Bakugo lost his concentration and went tumbling as Kyuka retracted her jack. What's wrong? Think I'm on his back for a free ride? Kyuka shouted. They had decided before this that if there was a race of any kind that Izuku would run and go through the obstacles while Kyuka rode on his back to deal with the other competitors. They had already passed the 0-pointers and pit, now was the minefield. And it was then that their biggest pain in the ass appeared. DKU. There she is, said Izuku. He was about to sprint his way through. He and Kyuka were surrounded by a green aura and lifted into the air. Later, Deku, the Hellspawn said as she passed by. Kyuka. On it. Kyuka let a special frequency she had been practicing from her jacks. Suddenly Izumi collapsed and her aura disappeared. What the hell is that? Izumi yelled out as she gripped her head. Izuku took the time to pass by her. Todoroki followed soon after. The half-and-half boy covered Izumi in ice, leaving only her face exposed. There's some ice for your headache. Do everyone a favor and get a brain freeze too, he said as he passed by, leaving a seething Izumi behind. Bakugo followed soon after. He caught up to Todoroki and was gaining on the couple. The pair could see the finish line but had the two behind them to worry about. Izuku, let me off. You can run faster without me on your back. 4th place isn't so bad for me to place in, Kyuka yelled. Izuku was about to argue but had a wonderful, horrible idea. He spun her around to his front and then held in one hand on her rear end. Izuku, what are you doing? She asked, red in the face. His response was a smile. She looked how he was holding her. It was almost as if he was aiming her. Her eyes widened. Izuku, no. Don't you. Izuku threw her across the finish line. Izuku, she yelled as she flew through the air. She landed in first place in the race. Izuku followed soon after. Then Bakugo, then Todoroki. You better make it up to me, you bastard, Kyuka said to her boyfriend. Hi, responded the boy. Next time, UA's second event. UA Sports Festival Round 2. Gather around, everyone, shouted Midnight. The next round is about to begin. Murmurs were heard about the next event, wondering what it could be as the students gathered around the center stage. Midnight walked to the wheel of events and gave it a good spin. Round and round it went until it landed on their event. Cavalry battle, Midnight announced. But we have a twist. Going from the last place in the race to first place will be an increasing point value. This leaves first place with a whopping 1 million points. All eyes turned to Kyuka. Well shit, Kyuka said in response. Everyone gather into teams of 4, Midnight announced. Kyuka immediately dragged Izuku next to her. You put me in first, so you're helping, she commanded. Yes, ma'am, squeaked the rage god. Ooh, me too, came a Pinkett. I am May Hatsum, genius inventor in the support course, in desperate need to show off her babies. Babies? The two teens questioned. Hatsum responded by pulling out a few gadgets to show them off. The two teens' sweat dropped at that, now knowing what she meant. I too wish to join this coven, came a shadow from behind. Gah! Kyuka jumped back in shock right into Izuku. Izuku caught Kyuka while casually responding. Hey Tokoyami, glad to have you aboard, Izuku said as he shook hands with the bird boy, then his shadow, don't want to be rude. Now I've got a plan, Izuku said, gathering the team as he looked at the roles displayed. The UA Sports Festival Round 2 Cavalry Battle is about to begin. Everyone ready? Set? Gugu shouted Midnight. The teams rushed off, all trying to gain their spots. Our lovely couples team, however. I can't believe you talked me into this, Kyuka commented as the group flew above the stadium. Well, I saw May's rockets, and I figures we could use Tokoyami and Dark Shadow as a glider. So I figured we could fly up to the rockets and deploy him to slow our descent. May was actually the one to think of making hot air for us to hover, Izuku explained. Okay, and what are you doing? Asked the rocker. Hey, is the... One team almost commented before getting knocked down by a sonic punch, disqualifying them. The flying group had to rebalance from the force. That is what I'm doing. I defend and keep us kind of secret up here. You just gotta keep that band safe, Izuku said. Overall, the second event had gone by pretty boring. They had managed to keep May's invention to last longer by using it in bursts. It was going well until suddenly the rockets started to glow green. Ah shit, the Hero Course students said at once. May screamed about her babies as the rocket were ripped apart, causing the group to start falling slowly thanks to Tokoyami. Until he started to glow green. Izuku and Kyuka watched as fear enveloped their friends' eyes. Tokoyami squawked in pain as he began to be crushed. The group fell rapidly. They were about to hit the ground as Izuku maneuvered to the bottom of them and caught the group. Kyuka tried to calm Tokoyami down as the aura faded. Her and the other two students could shake this overwhelming anger they had, however. May pulled something out of her bag. A group of Sato, Momo, Shizuo, and on top, Izumi came running. Izumi yoinked the band off of Kyuka's head with her telekinesis and bolted off once she had it. Izuku Nizu, May said to the robotic boy. Throw me at that hitch. Izuku decided to listen. May sailed through the air. Izumi almost used her telekinesis to stop her, but Kyuka was ready this time and emitted the frequency she had used earlier to stop her. May's device extended out as she landed on the group, device pointed at Izumi. Izumi started to say, "Motherfuck, is that a gun?" May had indeed made some sort of rifle. "This is for my babies," she yelled before pulling the trigger. The rifle contraption started to spark before letting out a small burst of condensed air, knocking Izumi into her group, but not out. And for Bird Boy too, I guess. The group mates reached for her when she realized she might not have thought this through. However, an black arm wrapped around her torso and dragged her back to the group. She looked to see Dark Shadow holding her. "Saved ya," he commented before returning to Tokoyami. "RINNNGGG." The bell went off to signal the end of the match. Everyone looked at the board to see the placements. The top 5 getting to continue. In 5th place was Kirishima's team. In 4th was a general course students' team. In 3rd was Bakugo and Todorokis' team. The two had worked together, albeit begrudgingly. In 2nd was Izumi's team. Most were confused as they thought they should have had first place since they stole the belt from Kyuka. And first was Kyuka and Izuku's team. Kyuka decided to lift her shirt up a bit, displaying the 1,000,000-point band that she had used as a belt. "That's cheating!" shouted Izumi. "Not at all," Izuku replied. "There is nothing in the rules that says where the belt can or cannot be. Furthermore, if you're referring to having another belt, which is what you have in your hand," Izuku continued as he pointed to the red belt in her hand with a piece of what looked like gold metal. "That comes from Mei, who is allowed accessories due to being a support course student. We just took her belt, took off the pockets, and attached the metal with some adhesive she had," explained the son of the smartest mammal. Midnight cleared her throat. "Well, time for the third event, the one-on-one tournament." Sound breaker. The classes of UA had a slight break before the third event. There the groups ate and laughed. Teachers and parents alike joined them to show how far they had come in such a short time. Kyuka waited for her family with Izuku and Niza. Eventually her father and mother approached her, and to her relief, they didn't try to fight with each other or Izuku. They just seemed proud. Izuku walked off to get food for everyone. He told the musicians and his father he could grab some food for them as he sprouted 4 additional arms. He walked away, leaving the group to talk. They got worried when he wasn't back immediately. The ear-jack users searched the area to see if they could hear him. Then they found him in a conversation. "Just drop out, you pathetic puke," came the voice of Izumi. "And you will return that quirk, it isn't yours nor will it ever be." The booming voice of All Might was hard to mistake. "Izuku baby, please." The feminine voice was Inko that they met at the Bakugos. 1. I will not be dropping out. 2. I can't give you the quirk, the past users don't see any of you as worthy. Now kindly buck off. I'm supposed to be getting food for everyone, not listening to you ramble for the past 5 minutes. That was Izuku. It sounded like he was about to walk off, but then they heard Izumi again. "Well then, don't be surprised when that flat-chested punk freak turns out like bird brains." Izuku stopped. "Don't you dare threaten her." He tried to step to her, but it seems he stopped about the same time the 2 gyros heard a loud popping. "Calm down, nerd." Bakugo. "Come on, the others were looking for you. I'm betting Earjax is looking for you right now." The Toe walked away and back to the group. "Hey, I'm back with Kaken and food," Izuku said cheerfully. The others tried to act like they didn't know what happened, but Kyuka was seething. "She keeps threatening him, me. She nearly gave Tokoyami PTSD after almost killing him. She constantly gets out of any punishment. I am done," she thought. Kyuka looked up with fury in her eyes. "You okay, Kyuka?" asked Izuku. She did not respond. Now it was time for the first event. Most of it was pretty boring. Izuku fought Momo and just kinda pushed her out of bounds. That was the only match she had paid attention to. Now it was her turn. Our next match, the sound to the rage, Kyuka Jiro. On the other side we got Hitoshi Shinso. I was asked not to make any other comments by his request. President Mike yelled out. "Ready? Set? Fight," Midnight yelled. With that the 2 readied their stances. "So, we just going to stand here or are you going to make a move?" asked Shinso. "Why don't you?" Kyuka responded. All of a sudden she didn't feel in control. "Walk out of bounds," the boy commanded. What was odd is that her body listened. "Sorry, it's nothing personal. I got a villain's quirk. I just want to prove I can be a hero," he explained. No. This could not be how she was eliminated. She felt her anger boiling over. There was the Yagis, her mother, the villains. She let out a guttural yell as she stopped. She looked to the purple-haired boy with a look of pure rage. In turn he looked at her with full fear. She sprinted at him with a mighty right hook to his face, knocking him out of the ring, and out cold. Midnight was about to announce the winner when Kyuka turned to her, still full of rage. Midnight shrunk and paled a bit at this. This reaction snapped Kyuka out of her trance, and she started to calm down. Kyuka Jiro is the winner," Midnight announced. Kyuka walked off stage into Recovery Girl's office to apologize to the boy if she was that scary. The boy paled when he saw her. "Please don't hurt me," he asked like he was begging for his life. I'm actually here to say sorry. I didn't think I looked that scary, but even Midnight was afraid of me, Kyuka said. The boy nodded. Well, sorry for hijacking you then. It must not be fun for a villain to control you. Why do you keep calling yourself that? It's what everyone had always said about me. My quirk is a villain's. Quirks don't determine who you are, and quirks themselves are not good or evil, stated a newly arrived Izuku as he walked through the door of the infirmary. It just matters who you are, Kyuka finished for him. Shinso looked down a bit as if in thought. Don't worry, as far as my dad can tell me, you might as well be in the hero course, Izuku said. What? Your dad? Shinso asked as he looked to the cyborg. Yep, he's the principal of UA himself, Izuku announced with pride. Wait, Izuku, what about your match? Kyuka asked. Kaminari gave up, apparently I scare him, Izuku said. However, your match should be starting soon. Who am I up against? Kyuka asked. Izuku looked at the match lineups on his phone and paled. Izumi. This next match might get a bit heated, folks. We have Izumi Yagi, the daughter of All Might, versus the terrifying Jiro, who nearly sacred the life out of dear referee Midnight in her last match, President Mike announced to the crowd. Izumi floated herself onto the stage, while Kyuka walked on from the other side. It was impossible for Kyuka to ignore the small comments she was hearing about how one-sided this fight was about to be. What did they know? They're just professional heroes and parents. Ready? Midnight started. Both girls readied themselves. Set? Both had their quirks ready to go as soon as Midnight finished. The first to activate their quirk would be the one to have a decisive victory. Begin. Kyuka began to activate her quirk. But she was too late. Ga-ah-h-h-h, screamed Kyuka in pain. Her ear jacks hurt a lot. All she saw was blood in the air. Then she looked at her jacks. In the middle of the green aura, her jacks were reduced to a bloody mess. Then all of Kyuka was forced to the ground, cracking the arena. Deku should have taken my offer. Then maybe you wouldn't be in so much pain right now, Izumi stated. Midnight looked about to say something, but time was in slow motion for Kyuka. She saw all that this hellspawn put her through, put Izuku through. And right now all she could focus on was that damn smirk she was wearing. Midnight tried to step in. Stop this fight, Izuvi. No. Midnight looked at Kyuka and paled. Her face was covered in blood. But now she wore that expression. The one that scared her and that boy Shinso shitless. Kyuka let out what sounded like a growl as she placed her hands on the tile and pushed up against Izumi's powers. She then put her feet down and began to stand. What a miraculous second wind from Jiro! What does our dear principal have to say to the… Mike cut himself off. Next to him, Niza had his hair standing up with a bit of a fearful look in his eyes. Niza began to speak. In all my time, I have only felt this from a few humans. Right now Jiro is… Mike and the entire audience looked at Kyuka. A predator. And she has found her prey. Kyuka looked like a monster. The aura of Izumi's powers and the humming from her broken jacks distorted her face and body, making her look distorted. In all honesty, Kyuka was giving the same feeling as the Nomu monster he fought. But like hell he was going to say that out loud. Kyuka made her advance toward Izumi. The telepath tried to increase the force on the pissed-off rocker. All it did was crack the tiles, but did not slow her. Kyuka threw a punch, but Izumi increased the force enough for her to be able to catch it. Kyuka tried with her other fist, to only have the same result. Izumi smirked, infuriating Kyuka more, before a gruesome idea came to her head. After all, she does like to bite. Kyuka headbutt Izumi, the force on her slowing down to where the headbutt itself didn't hurt. But the bite to the nose sure as hell did. What the hell, get off! Izumi yelled to her, trying to push the punk girl away. If you insist, Kyuka replied with her teeth still sunk in. She put her feet on Izumi's chest. Might as well get some squats in. She pushed and pushed before Izumi's powers ran out. And so did her nose. Blood and viscera went flying through the air. Kyuka bounced back, rolling back on her feet as she hit the ground. She looked up, Izumi's nose in her teeth. Holy shit, Mike yelled out. The crowd all let out and gasped. Recovery Girl sighed in her office, and Izuku was, well, a mixture of excitement, pride, and fear. He also had Bakugo and Todoroki behind him. Nerd, I don't feel like teasing and antagonizing her anymore, Bakugo said. I would like to apologize for any rude comment or action I have done, Todoroki said at the same time. Back on the stage, Kyuka dropped Izumi's nose, a smile on her face. Izumi, on the other hand, was bawling her eyes out and holding her hole on her face where the nose had been. Midnight, whom had almost threw up, was about to stop the match. Izumi, however, could not accept her defeat. You hitch, she screamed through her tears as she tried to hit Kyuka, the pain stopping her from concentrating on her powers. Kyuka merely caught the attack and threw her back before wrapping her jacks around her arm and upper chest area. Kyuka then delivered a heavy right hook, and as Izumi would have when flying, she was pulled back by Kyuka's jacks as the other wrapped around her neck, essentially making Izumi a paddleboard as Kyuka delivered blow after blow to Izumi's head. Enough, Midnight said. Kyuka stopped immediately. She dropped Izumi, whom just crumpled on the ground. Bots came to rush out to get the girl and take her to Recovery Girl. Midnight walked toward Kyuka and grabbed her hand. She took note that Kyuka was fighting not to recoil from her touch. Albeit bloody, the winner is Jiro. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some booed, other couldn't tell if they wanted to based on what they had saw Izumi do, other cheered for the punk girl's victory, either due to the awesome fight or some semblance of justice against what they had seen and heard Izumi do. The teachers were varied as well. Aizawa was slightly proud, Niza himself was actually kinda scared, Vlad King was disgusted, Snipe was impressed, Mike joined Niza on Team Scared, All Might was pissed, but Midnight. She was worried. Her fears were proven to be warranted when Kyuka threw up a massive amount of blood onto the stage, now causing everyone to worry as she began to fall. Luckily for her, her boyfriend has great speed. Izuku landed so hard he broke part of the stage where he landed. He caught his girlfriend and began to sprint off. I'm taking her to Recovery Girl, he yelled as he ran. He sprinted through the halls and arrived about the same time Izumi did. Recovery Girl jerked up from her seat and got to work. It wasn't long before both girls were healed and resting in beds. On opposite sides of the room, Izuku and the UA nurse figured to better be safe than sorry. Unfortunately, Recovery Girl repaired Izumi's nose and face, however she also healed Kyuka's jacks and apparently the many ruptured organs and broken hands, thankfully. Both were currently asleep. Izuku was determined to stay by Kyuka's side until his match, despite Recovery Girl saying she'd be okay. Kyuka's parents and Niza joined him shortly. The Yagi's going to Izumi. No one said a word.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.